trying to figure out the right spots. We are back to just show you how you can create your first $1 billion company as a solo founder. So let's over to Rahul. He's gonna teach you how anyone can build a $1 billion company these days. So Rahul, over to you.
Cool.
So
That's a tall order.
yes. So just like let's start with -1 to 0, how we were talking about it, right? So let's start with like okay, someone is at -1, they are a founder, they are not a software engineer. How should they get started with using technology like Cursor or anything? So let's get started with like maybe step one. What we would say.
I think the first thing it's about figuring out what you want to build. I think that's where everything starts. What problem you're trying to solve, and what sort of like what are the features you want, what features you want. Um,
Yeah, go ahead. So at -1, what do we? How do we? How would let's say someone is going to find their own problem, right? That's what we discussed. Now let's figure out. Let's just go with like the problem we were looking at, skin, right?
yeah,
Skin.
am I not audible?
Just be a little louder. I'm seeing like yeah, it's working now.
I'm audible. I'm audible. I'm audible. You have a new app. Like you were talking about the doctor app, right? The doctor app. Yeah. Patient info. Um, but we already showed the whole skin.
So let's just continue with the skin one.
Okay. You think so? Skin one from scratch. From scratch, I guess.
Okay, so I'm gonna get the cut until now.
Yeah.
We'll get it cut, and okay, I'm gonna stop. Yeah, I'm gonna just like get it edited. All right, guys, we are back after a little bit of hiccup in trying to figure out the right place. But we really want to show you how you can build your own company, which can turn into a $1 billion company as a solo founder right now. So it's because it's so easy to build. So here, Rahul is going to guide you to a journey about like how do you start from -1. So Rahul has shared his screen, so Rahul, go ahead.
Yeah, I think the first step is to write a good documentation as to what your product wants to do, what you're going to build. So I think the first step is starting to describe what you want to build. So let's say let's go about it. So first step we're gonna do is add a product scope document in Cursor. So product scope.md. MD is a good sort of like format to put your documentation in sort of Cursor because it's well understood by computers. So we're going to use that. Now in product scope, like what we want to say is, let's start writing a product scope in product scope. MD, we are building a skincare product. Skincare product where people can take a selfie every day and get their skin unboxed and get a recommendation of products they should use and what they should not use. Also, we would like to localize where they recommend products available in a particular geography. Help me brainstorm what features this product can have, and let's write a vision and let's write a full review of the product. Right? So what we're trying to do here is we're trying to create a product scope. I put in a few ideas, a few
Just
features.
one thing, Rahul, I want to ask you here is like, I think a lot of people when they look at Claude and ChatGPT, they just think that is like how you can basically get your specs generated. But here you are showing you can get your spec generated via Cursor, right?
Exactly, because like all the things which are available in the Claude chat are available to you in Cursor, and I feel like you like I have stopped using the Claude chat. Right? I'm not been paying $20 subscription a month to Claude. I basically use everything in Cursor. Cursor is my Claude. Right? So my workflow, and like I ask all the questions. I keep all the documentation inside one place, so that becomes a standard repository for all the information which I'm learning, and I keep it in Cursor in the left sidebar.
Perfect. So now you
So
are
this is a very vague. So what I've done over here is a very vague description. It's not a very. You can see like I've not put in a lot of features, and I let Claude So what I want to say is like, like when you're doing creative work, you don't want to be very specific. You want to start more general, like rather than be very specific. Let Claude generate the specifics, and then you, as a tastemaker, like almost like a person who is has a good taste, will be like, I like this, I don't like this, right? So let's say I've basically made a very general prompt. Okay, I'm creating this product. Click a picture, get some analysis, get some products, and let's see what Claude basically comes up with. Right? So let's press enter.
What happened?
No, nothing, nothing. You can see Claude now is generating a whole product score. So let's see what it comes up with, right? Yeah. So it has come up with a whole vision statement which you can see on the screen, right? So we've named the product Dharma Book for now, basically dermatologist plus journal. That's how we've named the product. Now it's saying you're using AI-powered skincare recommendations. The core features you can see, you have daily skin analysis, and it's sort of like figuring out all the different sort of problems skin can have. And so you have personalized product recommendations, geographic localization, user experience, social features, right? So it's kind of done a good job at sort of like coming up with a bunch of features which might be required, right? And it's also given us a bunch of technical requirements, right? So it's saying computer vision for skin analysis, natural language processing for product recommendations, machine learning. Now, the one interesting thing which I found about Claude is it doesn't recommend using Claude itself for doing all the analysis, right? So when it says AI ML component, so we want to tell it, hey, use Claude for all the AI ML analysis. You don't need to sort of like do the analysis. Like, or we don't need to build code for the machine learning or artificial intelligence. So that's something which we're going to replace from this. And also, this is a very this vision statement. It's almost the same feature which I had described in the initial prompt. So what we're going to ask Claude is to elaborate to make this more detailed and to also sort of like add more recommended features which we can have. Right. So add what other features can we have? Also, can't we use can't we use Claude slash for AI analysis and product recommendations?
The first part you did is like define your product requirements,
Yes.
and then next part.
So next part, basically like it has it has done a good job of summarizing what basically I wanted initially. But now I'm also going and sort of like because see I can't think of all the features, but Claude can sort of like come up with a lot of features. So I want to have a very broad picture of if you're building a product in this category, what all features are possible out there. So, and from that, we're going to first of all create a small phase one scope, like what MVP we want to build, and also we'll also figure out the technical requirements for that MVP. That's the next steps we're going to go for.
Few things before, because I'm like talking to the user is like at -1 to 0.
Yeah.
How to get cursor installed? Like what is the ID that you use? How did you set that up?
So I think like you can just go on the Cursor website and like you have the download button over there. You download the Mac or Windows sort of like ID from there, and you just download and you create an account in Cursor, and then you sort of like get onto a pro plan because you don't want to be on the free plan because it makes you wait too much. When you're learning stuff, you don't want to be waiting because it will make you more cranky. So it's better to sort of like just get things fastly done, and experience what fast means, right? So now, like apart from the main feature which we had come up with, it also come with advanced AI features. For example, Claude AI integration for natural language analysis, lifestyle integration, diet and nutrition tracking, smart shopping features, advanced analytics. You see, like now it has come up with a lot of crazy features, which are possible in the spectrum, right? So which is good, right? Like now you have a template. So I guess like this will be so if you were able to build this product, this would be a very full-fledged skincare dermatologist product, which is going to be out there, which is helping people fix their lifestyle, fix their skincare regimen, track their skin across time, right? So now, and also like as I told it that to use Claude for AI and not do like computer vision. So it was also replaced Claude AI integration for all the understanding, contextual generation. So rather than using building our own stuff, we're going to use Claude as the main AI. Now, so we have this, which is great. So now we're going to basically go into the thing. What do you suggest? What do you suggest should be our MVP? Right?
You also asked what the MVP should be.
Very exactly. So let's see. I feel like Claude can do a very good job sort of figuring out what the MVP is. Like obviously we as humans know what we want. Now we'll see what Claude is saying what the MVP should be, and then we are gonna like kind of refine it. So we have an imagination of like what MVP should be, and I think like Claude is gonna generate an MVP. So let's see now, right? Like so let's come up with a minimum viable product where it says core skin analysis. It's a basic selfie capture with guided positioning, essential skin analysis features, basic progress tracking with weekly reports, simple before after comparison, right? Product recommendations. So that's basically taken the whole product roadmap which we had, right, and split it into different phases, just like any product, like any company would do, right? So we are now going to say it has also come with MVP success metrics, 10,000 active users, yes, whatever, it doesn't matter, MVP technical stack. So this is interesting. So it has already come up with an MVP technical stack, which is React Native, Node.js with Express, MongoDB, AI/ML um, with, uh,
Cloud Connect.
with the cloud connection. And it is for cloud, it is using AWS and Firebase Auth. And so it has basically come up with the whole technical stack. So we can see from here, we're using kind of the MERN stack, which is one of the most popular sort of like stacks out there. And I think you can basically go and edit this if you have any knowledge of like what you are more comfortable with. Like right now, I wouldn't like worry too much about which languages we are using or what is actually happening because the first thing is that we need to get an MVP out, right? We need to get an MVP out, and if Claude is suggesting something, like there is no point actually debating with it, right? But for example, over here, like few things is that because we're going to host this somewhere, so we'll need a place for hosting it. So one of my favorite products is Railway. Obviously, they are not our sponsors for this podcast, but we like I like using Railway. So we'll add this thing that for hosting our front end and back end. For hosting our front end and back end, we are going to use Railway, right? So that it can edit this thing. Apart from that, I guess like we are kind of okay with because you have a phase one and we have an MVP user flow where user downloads the app, creates an account, completes basic profile and skin type questionnaire, takes a first selfie, requests skin analysis, gets a product recommendation, and sets out daily selfie reminder. Now, if you're going to put a niche in MVP, we don't really need a. So I'm going to edit out a bunch of features, right? Like for the purpose of like this conversation. So we're gonna we just want to have we don't want to download the app, so we can just use let's build a web application. Let's simplify for the MVP purposes. Let's build a web application. We don't need a mobile app. We don't need the user to download, right? Then basically we don't need a daily. We don't need daily selfie reminders. So on MVP, let's build a web application. We don't need user to download. We don't need daily notifications, weekly progress, and, and also after the skincare analysis in the MVP, I would like to send email to users. Right? So we've kind of changed the MVP now, slightly shaped it to a new definition with what would be the most logical because it has come with an MVP and we're like, well, that doesn't work. So depending upon what you would like to give to the user, you can sort of like go ahead and edit this thing. But the idea is that this product scope document is your central information source, right? Because you're going to use this document every time you're going to build anything. So we want this to be as crystal clear as possible, right?
Okay.
So now we have a new MVP user flow where we have user visits the website, completes basic profile, takes upload selfie, receives immediate skin analysis, gets email with detailed analysis and recommendation, use product. Yeah, that's great, right? And we can also remove, we don't want the user to create a basic profile. So we can kill user profile from, from the MVP.
So one question I have
Yeah.
is how often do you use Git with Cursor? Are you creating many checkpoints?
With Cursor, I think I think 1.5, 2 months ago, Cursor came up with a feature that you could revert code.
Okay.
So I used to use a Git a lot. With every little change, I would use Git. But now I've basically reduced the usage. I basically commit to Git every day, rather than sort of like with every feature.
Okay.
So the workflow is slightly changed because I really trust Cursor now that it can keep track of all the changes and I can revert whenever I want.
I see.
But I guess like the good practice is to use Git a lot. Obviously, when if there's a lot of changes Claude has made and you don't like it, you might want to go back. So you can do it within Cursor, or if you're using Git, you can sort of like go back.
When you were using Git,
Yeah.
was there ever an issue where, let's say, you Git reverted, but the context of Cursor's chat still had those changes?
Yes. So I think like based upon the documentation of Cursor, I think there's a concept of indexing of code in Cursor. So Cursor regularly indexes code. If you go to Cursor and you see the settings, so Cursor settings, there is a feature where it's saying code-based indexing, right? So this index generally is run every 10 minutes,
Okay.
right? Like that's what I read on Reddit or somewhere that that's what's happening. So something what I see is like in 10 minutes, if they have made some changes and reverted a lot of things very quickly, sometimes Claude thinks that whatever was there before,
The code base is in the current
code base is in the old state.
but it's okay.
So sometimes what I do is like when I can see that that's what's happening, so I will basically press the resync index button, and it takes like few seconds for it to sync again.
Okay.
So yeah. So yeah. So for example, now with like as I'm sort of like killing the features from Drugstore, as you can see, so it has also we can kill user profile. So it has removed the user authentication because for MVP we don't really need user authentication, and also it has removed the welcome email, password reset functionality. So we really come down to the very basics of what we are going to do in the product. Right? So that's great. I think like now if we quickly review like MVP is a core web application, front-end React.js, Node.js Express, hosting available, simple self-upload, applied positioning, skin analysis, email integration, basic product. Right? Now, even for email integration, like we can ask, like for example, what products can be used for email integration? Because it has not figured out in the tech stack. Has it figured out email templates, React email? Okay. So it has basically figured out email templates. So you can right now, what I'm going to do is because now of your features locked, so we are going to ask it for the MVP features you've decided. Is the tech stack the right stack? Is the tech stack the right stack? Or we can use already existing libraries or softwares ease coding. Right? So now we're basically getting into the technical stack stuff. Lock the features. We just wait to see if it has better suggestions for. So it is basically coming up with a bunch of stuff.
Have you noticed Cursor perform well with certain stacks?
I feel like the basic heuristic is because see, I feel like all these code bases have been trained on GitHub. So whatever code you would think that like a lot of developers would have pushed to GitHub, like those are the stacks. I feel like this performs well. So I would like really recommend using languages which are used by everyone, like not like niche things. So that's my general sort of like takeaway from
Okay.
building code here. So phase one code of application. So it has added a bunch of stuff. Now, I'm not sure personally because I'm not a coder what the hell all these things are. So I'm just going to revert
Okay.
because I don't know what it all means. I'm just not sure how to deal with all this. Yeah. So at this point I press restore checkpoint because I'm scared. So I just press restore and all the things which basically came up with they are gone away. So I'm just like for the MVP tech stack. Are you sure we are using a good stack? So I want to come to a place where I actually understand what is happening, and if I'm familiar with the words.
Uh,
Built-in routing, API routes, cluster development, CSS, React forms, React pattern, database, Postgres, Postgres, email resend, database storage. Okay. So now there is one thing interesting. So personally, when I started building products, I still not use Postgres,
Okay.
right? So my experience right now pretty much lies in MongoDB, right? So it's just like what I learned initially when I was like hacking. So so rather than basically going with things which, so if it's a first time program, then maybe Postgres is a good choice. But sort of like if you have used something before, just use those things to build code initially, so that you're not entering territories which are completely new. But for the purpose, like because I have not used Postgres up till now, I'm going to sort of commit to Postgres and see basically where plot takes us.
Okay.
Right? Because I'm going to learn as if I've never, like, if I don't know anything about it, and how will I debug the problems? So for that, let's keep Postgres over here. So it had decided tech stack. This is simpler to understand than the earlier stuff it had come up with. So I'm just like, I'm kind of happy with this. So it's okay. It's okay to not understand any like things which are here. It's not our problem for right now for activity building. I'm just gonna say let's this is gonna be now the moment of magic, right? We're gonna just say let's implement phase one of the MVP in the product scope or MVP, right? So we have clearly defined what the product is. Like this document practically contains all the different features. So I'm trusting that Claude knows what the whole product would look like, and it is a decided tech stack based upon that. This document is going to be a central document with which we're going to build. So let's implement phase one of the MVP in product scope. And also one thing I've noticed is it's good to give it a slight guidance. So for example, so generally what I say is that keep front end and back end separate folders. For people who don't understand what front end and back end means, so front end is the UI and the web application or the mobile app part of the code. The back end is mostly the place where logic or any sort of like sort of calculation or analysis is happening and all the information is being stored. Right. So generally I tend to separate these two because it makes it easier for to reason what's happening there. So I'll press enter and let it play the game now. Right. So it's now giving instruction and I just blind press run command. I don't care about like what it is saying. Just keep pressing run command. The job now is to just let it play the game. So CD front end, run command, and that's what I'm doing. Just gonna have a coffee. I don't have a coffee. Where's my coffee? No coffee. No coffee. So it's doing its work. So it says okay to proceed. I just say yes. Sure. I don't know what I'm doing. Yes. That's the YOLO or vibe coding. I guess I should know it. But the thing is like so in life, like one of my friends said like one thing. I think it's just an Amazon philosophy, right? Like where in life you have two types of problems. One are two types of sort of problems. One are two way doors, and one way doors. When we are doing like vibe coding like this, everything is a two way door, right? Like we can always revert. We can always throw this code. This code is not taking like we're not spending millions of dollars building this code. We're not spending hours building this code. All this code is just experimental, which we're figuring out. And slowly, as you learn, you start understanding the words, you start understanding what is happening. But initially, you don't need to worry. Just keep pressing yes. It's all right. Your computer is not going to burn. So press yes, let the code come out, and later we'll figure out what the hell happened. Would you like to use TurboPad? I have no idea what I'm pressing. I'll just say whatever is the default option.
Wow. Scary at all.
Huh?
That doesn't scare you at all.
It scares me. See, like as I was saying in the previous part of the podcast, like I had built a product where all the users got access to all of the user data, right? Like that's wrong. So now that I've seen that can happen, I'm very careful that can happen, right? But see, all those kind of problems you'll only know once you make some mistakes.
Okay.
You're not going to know them. So if you're a beginner developer, even if you're a beginner developer, you just went to sort of like IIT or Berkeley, right? Like on day zero, you're not going to know what problems computers can solve, right? In the same way, like you're not going to suddenly know all the different things where this can fail or what can happen. The only way to know is just let trust this, see what generates, see where problems come up, learn from it, and sort of like learn very fast, right? Like you just need to like we can't spend like hours and hours googling stuff. Like my basic philosophy in life is unless something breaks,
Yes.
don't try to fix, right? So when things start breaking, I'll start going and looking into it, fixing it. See, I'm not building a banking app right now,
Yes.
so we're not too worried. Even if it's a skincare app right now, I'm not building it for public user. I'm building it for actually demonstrating like that we want one product.
And then you can look at each use
And then
case.
exactly, then we can sort of like go deep into each use case and figure out like where it can falter or what it can happen.
Maybe one thing to think about it, like maybe you will end up with a software which has more bugs than anyone else. But
Yes.
that's fine, right?
Like, see, if you're a small kid, if you're learning to walk, you will fall down.
Yes.
The thing is like not to be afraid, not afraid to fall. When a kid learns to walk, it's not having a guidebook as to how to walk, right? Like the idea is that it's just like do random stuff. Like the kid like tries different things, and it fails, and then over time it figures out like what's the optimal path for movement. But rather than going to a college and learning computer science, now the game has slightly changed because you have a really smart average, like a really smart engineer. Let's say you just finished uni, sitting with you. So you're going to learn from him or her. Right? Like you just and let it do the. Yeah, let me just learn from one. Okay. So it's doing a bunch of shit.
Yes.
Fine. But as you build more and more products, you'll start realizing you get familiar with the words. You get familiar with the words. You get familiar with what is happening on the screen. But in the first iteration, don't worry. Like because I want people to fail.
Yeah.
I want people to have bugs. I want people to struggle, right? Because only if you struggle, then only you'll ask the right questions. I must have. Then, like, see, like I started developing 3 months ago. Right? I feel fairly confident now that, like, obviously, I'm not as good as a person who's been coding for 10 years. I can never because I have more experience in figuring out where what are the bottlenecks, where the problems can happen. But I think I'm getting better and better every day. The idea is to become better than your previous version, right? It's not about how do I become the best engineer. It's about how do I every day become better, like photo.
Okay, so you kind of like asked all these questions. Now, what is like your? How do you get to something which is worth doing? Like, let's just get to something.
Then it just do the thing. Like if you just keep doing stuff like it's now right now installing a bunch of backend libraries, and we're not going to disturb it. It takes a bunch of time. Sometimes what I do is like I just leave it and sort of like go to the washroom, go for a walk. So there is a YOLO mode also where it can just like keep taking these decisions itself.
Okay.
Got it. So in a way, like you are saying, get started. Like a message for
started.
someone is like get started. Think about the problem you're gonna work on.
Exactly.
If you're -1, just like get started.
Start.
Get
Get
open
started.
cursor and you
Don't fear the words. Don't fear it.
don't fear.
Don't fear. No fear. I think like the idea
fear.
is no fear because I think these there is a lot of jargon to understand.
Yeah.
Like it can be complex. It can for a person it can be like oh my god like what am I getting into? What is an API? What is a backend? What is a front end? What is all these like crazy looking words? See these things have been built over 30, 40 years of computer science engineers like hacking their brains together to build all this shit. You're not going to learn in 15 minutes.
Yes,
That's
you're
not
not
gonna
gonna learn it like that. Yeah.
It's not going to happen. You're not becoming a computer science engineer who spent 4 years or 5 years
Yes.
to do a degree.
Yes.
The idea is not to become that person. The idea is how to figure out to build a product as fast as possible and how to have an independent lifestyle. So that's what we are getting to. Now, we'll make mistakes, but the idea is have that approach YOLO.
Okay.
Very cool. So, anything else that you want to share today, Rahul, with the audience about how people can uh, kind of like take a leap on their dreams? How can people take a leap around their dreams? Anything else you want to share?
I feel like a lot of times, like even me in the past, with everything in life, I feel like we all have a lot of ideas.
Uh-huh.
Like, hey, like I should do this, I should do that. But many times we just don't start, right? Like for example, for me personally, I used to be like 105 kgs at some point of time when like 4 years ago, right? Like I had been at that weight for like 4 or 5 years for some reason, and I knew like what I had to do: go to the gym,
Yeah.
start running, right? Simple things. And I think like this notion of like just like When you're running shorts, go out, start running. It will be hard. It's going to be complex. The mind is going to be like, I can't do this. I don't want to do this. You just like keep going because, for example, the first time I went for running, running for 2 minutes for me was a very hard thing. But across a period of 9 months, I was running like 25 kilometers in one go. Right? So that's how our mind works. Like initially, something can be hard. These words can be unfamiliar. That's okay. You don't worry. You let yourself fail fast.
Fail
I think thing is like you want to get good and you want to fail as fast as possible rather than thinking and avoiding failure in your head.
Okay.
Right?
So one question I have.
Yeah.
Let's say someone is vibe coding.
Yeah.
And they're asking Kershaw the questions.
Yeah.
And Kershaw's repeatedly failed.
Yeah.
And it's not doing what they want.
Yeah.
How can they get out of that spiral?
I think like think of it as a human being, right? Like imagine a new person in your company comes up and says, "Hey, like I failed. Like I'm not able to figure this out." How would you're not just going to criticize that person? Hey, you are a stupid person. Why can't you fix this? Go and fix this, right? If you're truly in a mentorship spirit, you will ask them, "How did you do this? What was the logic behind this? Explain to me in simple words. What did you do?" Right? So when I'm stuck with problems in Cursor, like what I end up doing to Cursor is like rather than saying fix my problem, what I'll do is like, hey, explain me how did you come up with this? What's the logic behind this? What are the different codes, the parts in the code which correspond to this problem, and help me understand how the information is flowing across the code, right? So with that, like I think Claude is really good at explaining things. So it'll break down if you go across the code and figure out like what how the information is flowing, and it'll give me a whole logic, and then I can read the logic just like a person in English and say, okay, here is the flaw, or here is a problem, right? And then I can guide Claude to fix that problem by saying, hey, so you have a problem here.
Okay.
Very cool. It looks like it's going to continue processing, but I think this is a good way for anyone to get started. If you are one of those people who is like been thinking about, hey, I want to build a billion-dollar company, I want to be very clear here. Billion-dollar companies are not built in one day.
Exactly.
Billion-dollar companies are built through resilience, through a lot of hard work over years. But as of now, if you are not a professional coder who has never worked on coding, there's a billion-dollar opportunity right now that comes to you through these tools like Cursor, where you can basically go deep dive into it, learn how to code, and get that $1 billion out for yourself.
Exactly.
Like you are making that happen for yourself.
And like I think Cursor is a beautiful product, right? Like it's like you can build marketing software, you can build sales software, HR software, any kind of software. So there are like hundreds of billions of dollars sitting inside Cursor. And all you do is ask the right question. If you can ask the right question and if you can work with a person with a beginner mindset, that I don't know anything, I'm happy to work with it. Over time, you can learn. So even like, think about this, right? Like, even if somebody's an engineer, has been 10 years, right? What is stopping you to build that experience? What is stopping you? You have the best teacher over here. You have the best engineer over here. I don't say the best, but a good enough.
Yes.
Right? In life, you don't need the best of everything. You just need good enough things.
Yes.
Right? The mindset has to change from that I want the best. Nothing like I feel like okay, if you can hire the best engineer, go ahead. And if you're resource constrained, which every founder is in this world, you basically think that what do I have and how can I make the best use of it? So yeah, I think it's like done the whole board. So you can see like we have a bunch of files over here in the back end and we have a bunch of files in the front end. Right? Now it's saying and it's written a README. README generally is written by like especially when we sort of like give the agent the work, it's written to help us understand how to start running this code. Right? So it has given a bunch of instructions for us to start running this. So it's saying like it has done a bunch of stuff. So now we need to sort of like set a front end and set a back end. Now, the one thing to notice is like most of the products are basically hosted on internet somewhere on a website. But initially, when you're developing something, you want to host it just on a local machine. So you basically have everything running on your computer. So that's what localhost is. If you get confused. So
So now you can test it
now
out.
I can test it out and see like what has happened. See, on 99.9%, this is going to fail.
Okay.
Right? So this is not going to work. Right? But we are now going to figure out what is
Failing.
failing. Like that's the job. CD front end, the same instructions from the top, and npm install. Yeah, it's already installed, no problems. So now we say, I don't know what this means for now. Okay, it's asked me to run this, but obviously there is no such file directory. I don't know what to do with this. So I'm just gonna copy this, put this into my thing, say error, right? That's it. And let's see what it says. It helped me explain. I see that we need to create n blah. So it has now gone ahead and created the file. So fine, fantastic. So it'll create this file. So you click over here. So it's a localhost. No need to understand this for now. Not a big deal.
Wow, gee, we are really vibe coding.
Yeah.
We are not understanding anything. We are just like, let's see what the result comes out to be.
See, the
This is
idea
very
is
exciting.
the idea is you to get a product out.
Yes.
The idea is not to become the best coder in the world.
No.
Nobody's running a coding championship over it, right? Like we're here. Yes, the desire is there to become a good coder.
Yes.
Yes, the desire is there to build great products. To build a great product, you need to become a good coder.
Yes.
But the pathway to good coder is being a bad coder.
Yes. And I mean, everyone says like, first build a bad product. Like your first product needs to be bad. Just like your first code can be bad. Like why do you need to have the best
Exactly.
code?
Like you can't learn piano.
Yeah.
Suddenly become the best pianist in the world
Yeah.
by not like creating cacophony on the piano.
Yeah.
Right? Like you need to go ahead and just like do random shit, and then only one day you will become. So even if you want to create a great product, even if you're vibe coding, right now we don't understand much. It doesn't matter. Right now we are just building the confidence in the muscle.
Yeah.
That you can do something.
Yes.
Right. Slowly we'll start asking questions.
Let's see where are we at.
So we are here. So we did this. So this. Let's run this. So see, like for example, now it has added a command. I can see what this command was trying to do. It's trying to copy the example environment file. Okay, I don't understand this. It's okay. But I'll run this command. I have some understanding building. Now it didn't give an error. And it is npm runtime.
So now the front end is running.
Yep. You see, the front end is having no problem running it, so it's working. So obviously, because the packet is not running, this might not show anything to us right now. But let's just check, right? Like localhost 3000. Is it going to give us anything? Oh,
Wow. So it has already given you the result.
it has given some basic front end right now.
Yes.
Right? So obviously, because our system, which has the logic and the database, is not connected yet, we need to figure that out, right?
I think to be honest, like I think this is what I was kind of looking at in just like helping people understand that now how many minutes it took us, like not even 5 minutes to be
Yeah.
able to get to a UI. It could have and especially like even local host, everything. I think it could have taken like
this
hours for someone.
I'm pretty sure like this, like in the old world, if you were talking about like 2 years ago before AI came about, this would have taken 2 to 3 weeks for an engineer to like for even two people to code together to get all this stuff working. Now, I'm not saying that's great. We're living in a new world now.
Yes.
Like for a person who doesn't know stuff, this is a great way to start learning stuff. Right? Like and the way I think about it, like let the problem happen and we learn from the problems rather than
Learn on the go.
and on the go.
Yeah.
Very different, obviously. Like if you're trying to become a doctor, you don't want to do that,
Yes.
right?
But as a
If you're
coder,
becoming a surgeon. But as a coder, where you're not shipping the products live right now, right? So, for example, for me also, right? Like for 3 months, I've been coding with this. So I will say that I've learned a lot, right, in these 3 months. But I've not stuck myself to just one product and tried to ship it. I've built like 8 or 9 different products, trying out different things. And I think like doing that has helped my brain tinker. And as I see things happening around me and as I get stuck in loops and problems, I've learned a lot by just doing that.
Okay.
My recommendation to anybody who's starting out is like just like take 2 or 3 months out, build a lot of products, a lot of problems. Just whatever problem comes up in your head, in the night just say, I'm going to spend 2 hours just building a code and just keep learning the words, right? Slowly and slowly, you will start seeing the patterns which are happening across your code bases. Be like, oh, this is what database means. This is what API means. This is how these things are working. Slowly, I think it's a slow process, but it's a sure short process of like 3 months.
Very cool. So
So let's go and sort of also set up the backend.
um,
So we're gonna just go to. So we have the README here, right? It has given us instructions. This one, the CD package, npm install. Let's see what happens. Hit install. it did the work. And pitch me. Let's see what this does. Need to install the following packages. Okay, yes. I'm pretty sure like this sounds very complicated. But don't worry. There's no point worrying. The only way to learn is to just see again. You have an error. Error. Let's just copy paste this error. It says Prisma schema loaded. So right now you might be like, oh, what does this word mean? Like, what does that word mean? Right, sure. We will learn all this stuff over time, but not the place for it right now. And keep like what I would suggest is keep reading. Like for example, when you're solving an error, keep reading. Okay. So let me stop. Okay.
This is very cool.
So your goal is to make the product work. The goal is not for now. And the thing is like that's not a permanent goal. Over time your goals will change. Right now you're just like trying to be like, okay, how can I use this to just build an MVP for myself? Right? And then over time. And as you will see, like I just started using the product, like, oh, we don't want the product to work like this. We don't want the product to work like that. We'll start making changes from
I mean, I think based on just like what we wanted to share, I feel like we were able to see the front end. Anyone can now download Cursor and get into vibe coding and not worry about like fear about whether they know coding or not. I think that's kind of the message here, right?
exactly.
Yeah. Okay, to our audience, first of all, thank you so much for watching, and hopefully this helps you understand how you can actually build your billion-dollar company at some point. Now you don't need any kind of like separate expertise, or you can accumulate years of experience very quickly with the help of AI, Cursor, and tools that are available at your disposal. Just stay curious, keep learning, and you will be successful very soon. Thank you.
Awesome. Very good. Very unique approach actually. First build out that product scope MD
Yeah.
and then just then